Guys, welcome to the show. I know, no countdown today. Very strange. Tony Katz, the show is Tony Katz today. A series of dumb internet issues, but I think I've got that all solved. You've got the State of the Union tonight. You've got pausing aid on Ukraine, and yet somehow you still want them to come to the table. I don't know how you take away the aid and then say, now come to the table. It's usually come to the table or take away the aid. I'll get in to all of that. Don't worry. I've got much to share with you. And some of it's just nutty. It's coming up.
Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Okay, so game on. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Justin Trudeau, I guess that's the equivalent of a Canadian SmackDown. The only thing he didn't say is Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. What are you doing, everybody? 833-GOT-TONY, 833-468-8669. It's the best radio show you're not listening to, even though you're listening to it. I meant the other guy. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, not happy with the tariffs. 25% tariffs on Canadian products, 10% on energy. This hits Canada very hard because they bring in our stuff. It hits us less hard that he is engaging in reciprocal tariffs. But what do you expect him to say? I mean, sometimes I'm amazed that people are like, I can't believe that Trudeau said that. You just said to the Canadian economy, up yours. That's what got said by Trump. And so the idea that they wouldn't respond is very odd.
We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see. And now to my fellow Canadians.
Well, get to the Canadians in just a moment. Tell me more about being friends. Hold on. I am not a tariff guy. I have proven this in every single way. Tariffs are taxes. It is a mistake. Our costs go up. They do. Of course they do. To say otherwise is nutty, is to have absolutely no connection to economic reality. You don't need to be an economist to know this. It's a full-on trade war at this moment. Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis, is scheduled to be with us a little bit later to break it down. But I want to hear more about Justin Trudeau talk about our friendship. The same Justin Trudeau who lectured the United States and called us sexist for not electing Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton. You think that's an example of being sexist? I think it's an example of the Democratic Party putting up the worst of the worst and saying, here you go, and America saying, nah. The worst of the worst of the worst in those two. I mean, that is what it is. That's not friend talk. Friends don't engage a $50+ billion trade imbalance and say, oh, well. Friends don't tell their own nation that you're not allowed to have a protest, and if you do and you're a trucker, we will shut you down. We'll track every bank account. We'll prevent you from speaking out, and we'll engage in a draconian way if you don't follow our COVID advice, which was made up on the fly. Friends. The Canadians want to let us know that we're friends. Okay. But what does he have to say to Canada?
I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this storm. From expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible to providing direct supports to businesses, we will be there as needed to help. But Canada, make no mistake, no matter how long this lasts, no matter what the cost, the federal government and other orders of government will be there for you. We will defend Canadian jobs. We will take measures to prevent predatory behavior that threatens Canadian companies because of the impacts of this trade war, leaving them open to takeovers. We will relentlessly fight to protect our economy. We will stand up for Canadians every single second of every single day, because this country is worth fighting for.
Funny, he sounds just like Donald Trump. I mean, not just a little like Donald Trump. Completely and totally. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that if I were to take the movie Step Brothers, like, this is them. Right. But clearly Trudeau is John C. Reilly. And it's like, did we just become best friends? Yes, you did. It's we're going to protect Canadian interests. We're going to protect Canadian workers. We're going to protect Canadian. That's everything Trump is saying. What's the difference? Maybe, Justin, just a theory, big dog. Just a theory there, big shoots. Maybe this all could have been worked out. Maybe you could have taken the man at his word and being very, very serious. But instead, what are you doing? Challenging these illegal actions?
Today, we will also be challenging these illegal actions by filing dispute resolution claims at the World Trade Organization and through the USMCA. But in the meantime, our tariffs will remain in place until the US tariffs are withdrawn, and not a moment sooner. And should these tariffs not cease, we are in active and ongoing discussions with provinces and territories to pursue several non-tariff measures. Measures which will demonstrate that there are no winners in a trade war.
I don't disagree with that, by the way, and anybody who doesn't understand that, I think, is a little nutty. There are no winners in a trade war. It's not the way it works. There is a pain, except if you can get your people to accept the pain for a better result at the end. And that's the question, isn't it? What's the better result at the end? What is it that comes out of all of this? What is it that America gets? What is it that Trump gets? I understand the rules of Trumpism, if only because I created them. The first rule of Trumpism is that Trump wins. The second rule of Trumpism is that a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. Right? These are the facts as presented. Trump's argument is, if I get a better trade deal and lower the imbalance, I win. That's what he's looking to do. So tariffs as tactic has always been the plan. This is very willy-nilly. This is very, put it up there. 25% sounds great. Put it up there. In the interim, everyone's going to pay more. Trump has never fully explained that the tariffs are taxes, and yes, there's going to be a short-term pain, but here's what we're trying to get to. He has never once brought America in with him through explanation to gather people around this common objective, which is economic security and better opportunities for our children and grandchildren. It's always about the children and grandchildren. I think he should, and he might in the State of the Union tonight. But until this is done, everything's going to cost more, and that does have an effect. Trudeau's problem is a larger one. As I discussed earlier, we can outlast Trudeau any day of the week and twice on Sunday. We can outlast Trudeau without thinking twice. We don't have to do we don't have to do anything. Just sit back and breathe deep and let them suffer, because they're going to suffer more than we are. But we are going to pay more. This response from Trudeau does not surprise me. This statement does.
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense.
Oh, Justin, that's one heck of a statement that you're making right there.
Friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense.
I can try, but I'm not great at trying to make sense of things for you. Wanting a peace deal in Ukraine does not mean that we say of Russia, everything you do is just great. As a matter of fact, it was Donald Trump who in his first term was reminding Europe that you guys are buying natural gas from Russia, you're supporting the war. And now, since it's still happening, is there any doubt that European nations that claim to be concerned about Russia are feeding the dollars to Russia to help them engage the war against Ukraine? So in the world of appeasement, Justin Trudeau, you're the one hanging out with the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, and others. Who's appeasing whom? Secondly, knowing that Russia is larger and can do more damage to Ukraine than Ukraine can do to Russia, and wanting a peace deal where you don't start by simply insulting the guy. It's not Trump's style. It's not his way. It is not his want. That is not appeasement. If you're going to argue that Russia says, or if you're going to argue that Russia says, not only do we want the whole of Ukraine, we want 4/5 of Poland. Now, if the United States said, well, there's not much you can do about that, well, he's a nice guy, that would be an issue. Sure. See that one. That isn't what's happening. Trump trying to make a deal. Yes, it's transactional. Yes, it's a ceasefire that can be busted up by a lying Vladimir Putin at any time. So can any deal. But this is what he got elected to do, and this is what he is trying to do. Trying to get people not killed in Ukraine. This is how he thinks it should work. It's not that I 100% agree with him. It's not that you have to 100% agree with him. But dear Lord, this is how you start a conversation? He's starting a trade war with us and appeasing Putin? You've been taking advantage of American largesse for well over a decade. Donald Trump thinks it should stop. You haven't moved fast enough. He engaged the tariffs. And by the way, I oppose the tariffs. But I swear to you, Prime Minister Trudeau, if you're going to act like a punk ass, you know what, like this, well, then maybe he was right. It seems that everybody's allowed to talk tough. Zelensky's allowed to talk tough. Trudeau's allowed to talk tough. And somehow Trump's job is just to take it. Do we not understand who we voted for? Because I understand who we voted for. I get what's going down. I get it. And so do you. I don't agree with every policy. I understand why. No, I don't like this. I don't like this trade war. I don't like these tariffs at all. No, I wouldn't pause aid to Ukraine. Absolutely, I wouldn't pause aid to Ukraine. And I will discuss it. I know what I voted for. That people are surprised is very weird. Justin Trudeau, you saw this coming and you did nothing. Now you explain it to your people. And I think Trump in the State of the Union needs to do even more to explain it to his people, meaning us. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Oh gosh, I didn't know we're back. So I will admit, man, they just announced that they're going to replace Bongino with Vince. I've never been able to pronounce his last name. And a very, very nice guy out of DC. He's on WMAL. Interesting pick. I am a little surprised by it. Got a history and Daily Caller, things like that, and just a very, very, I think, different approach. Should be interesting how that works over there on their radio side. Certainly, some people have asked, does Dan Bongino leaving radio does it change what you do? It doesn't change what I actually do. It doesn't change my show, but does it create opportunities? Yeah, well, of course. 100%. It creates opportunities. So we'll see whether or not we're able to grow from this. We certainly are going to try. Certainly are going to try and build out. That much is for sure. So glad you guys are here. A lot to get to.
More precise, those credible and realistic options are more than simply saying we can give Israel some bombs and they can take care of it.
Yes, I agree with you, Senator.
It's well known that Israel lacks certain military capabilities that we have, such as aerial refueling tankers and heavy bombers with deep penetrating ordnance. Do you believe that at least one option for the president to consider how to stop Iran from going nuclear should be to use our tankers and our bombers, whether in tandem with Israel or in the lead?
Senator, I wouldn't want to get ahead of the president on specific decisions, but I think those are the kinds of things that should be absolutely part of this the discussion. And if I were confirmed, those would certainly be the kinds of things that I would raise for the consideration of the Secretary and ultimately the President.
Thank you. And to be clear about why this is so important to us, to the United States, not just to Israel or our Arab friends, why President Trump says a nuclear Iran is an existential danger to us. You agree that it's an existential danger, not just a severe danger, as you said in response to Senator Gillibrand, or a significant one, as you said in your written answers.
Yes, a nuclear armed Iran, especially, Senator, given that they, as we've discussed, that they've looked into, or we know they've worked on ICBM range capabilities and other kinds of capabilities that would pose an existential danger to the United States. That is correct.
That is correct, Senator Tom Cotton. That is correct, Eldridge Colby. You're talking about the nominee to be the Undersecretary of Defense, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. The threats are real. You know, we focus on Ukraine because it makes for, I don't know, people have decided that this is their issue. They would rather side with Ukraine than the United States. It is awkward and it is odd. Even when I disagree with a policy, I still side with the United States. That isn't true of people we see on the streets. It's just 100% not true. But we forget that Iran is the threat. Iran and support of terrorists, whether it be Hezbollah or Hamas or the Houthi rebels, it's a threat to the United States. A nuclear Iran is a threat to the world writ large. And I'm happy to see that there's people out there still focused, eyes on the things that matter. Not eyes on the media thing that they think helps them win an election. That's the story. That, you know, to run this world properly, you need to be able to do more than one thing at a time. Media cannot. So it's our job. Certainly television and cable news, they can't. Our job is to make sure we're still focused on these things and the people that we elected are doing the things. Everything's moving, baby. Everything is moving. And all of this is a lead up to the State of the Union. Let us break it down. What is it that we're going to see during the State of the Union? What is it we should see? What is it that the Democratic Party is still pushing forward on? Not won't learn, can't learn. They can't. And they're proving it all the time. Plus an update on the Pope. And we need a Navy. Oh, we have a Navy. We need a better Navy. I've got that story. Guys, keep it here. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. This is Tony Katz Today. Debbie's husband enjoys my show. Debbie hates my guts and wants me to die in a fire. But her husband's a heck of a guy. I don't know if that's true, Debbie. I would never say, Debbie, that you want to see me be harmed. Right? I would never say such a thing. So I had someone send me. It's Vince Colonnese who's replacing Dan Bongino. I never pronounce his last name well. Lovely guy. I've been getting a lot of people reaching out to me about this. Listen, it's welcome to the world of radio, right? Things move, things morph. Who knows? But what happens there doesn't affect what I do in large measure. We're growing our thing. We're building our stuff up, boo-boo. Undoubtedly. And honestly, the stream's been fun. I enjoy it a little bit more than I thought. Now that I figured out the camera and the lighting, and my lighting is like super hot. My lighting looks so good. This whole thing, best lighting in all of radio. That's what the kids say. That's what the kids and the lady folks say. No, Wendy. So I think it starts at 8. Maybe the actual address starts at 9, but maybe it's the pre-gaming that starts at 8. You know what? Don't care. I'm eating steaks. Oh yeah. Oh, there's some shopping later. I have got enough bourbon to choke all the horses. I'm sorry. I'm not against the horses. It's an expression. And cigars, I'm pretty good, although I do need to do some updating. That much is true. I would say I am light in my humidor holds 3,000 cigars. I would say I'm light right now by about half. And a full humidor is a happy humidor. And so I need to fill that up. I need to fill that up and get that going. So I've got some shopping to do. Swisher Sweets or Backwoods. Hey Matt, how about you go to hell? Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate that. Yes, Debbie, we do have the same morals. And I didn't know that until you wrote that. And now I know, and I feel better. Thank you so very much. I am glad you're all here. Let me just grab some things that I need for the show. Get everything together here. Thank you, producer Landon. 1 minute to go. I don't know if I have the Chris Murphy stuff here. Where Chris Murphy basically is like, we're all going to die if Trump is allowed to stay in power. I mean, they're still doing it. Oh no, so I've got it here, right? I've got it. I know I've got it. All right, we're coming back to the show. That right there, Senator Chris Murphy with some thoughts on Donald Trump.
Have another year to fight this attempt to destroy democracy. Our democracy might be gone in 6 months. And so I have, taken the energy that I used to put into other issues and channeled it all into trying to raise the alarm for my colleagues and for the American public about what's happening. Because if we don't mobilize America right now against these billionaires and against these attempts to destroy our democracy, then by the summer, the democracy might be gone. We might not even notice, and the Trump family might rule forever. We don't.
Okay, that is a weird kind of fetish right there. That's a weird kind of fetish. That if we don't do something, democracy will be gone and the Trump family will rule forever. I think it's weirder to say I'm not going to be doing any of my job as a senator so I could fight this. But you understand that this is Democrat Senator Chris Murphy, who wants to now position himself as the leader of the Democrats. This radical beta male is still engaged in the conversation of calling for a lone wolf. That's what's happening, guys. Calling for a lone wolf. He wants someone to do harm to Donald Trump. Democracy will be gone by summer if we don't do something. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know. Oh, you won't survive it, but we'll remember your name. And finally, your life will have value. Honestly, at this moment, what's the difference between Chris Murphy and one of those terrorist recruiters? I'm asking the question. He's not calling for somebody to do harm to the president? Let's listen again. Tell me where somehow I'm missing the argument.
Have another year to fight this attempt to destroy democracy. Our democracy might be gone in 6 months.
How is that not ginning somebody up to engage in an act of violence against a sitting president of the United States? Explain it to me. 833-468-8669, 833-GOT-TONY. Live streaming over there at the YouTube's Tony Katz, X Tony Katz, Facebook, Tony Katz Radio, 93 WIBC. I've got it up on LinkedIn. Do the math. Find it, by the way. The YouTube channel is the easiest one to find it on. He's calling for harm to be done to the sitting president. I want to know why this is okay.
And so I have, taken the energy that I used to put into other issues and channeled it all into trying to raise the alarm for my colleagues and for the American public about what's happening. Because if we don't mobilize America right now against these billionaires and against these attempts to destroy our democracy, then by the summer, the democracy might be gone. We might not even notice, and the Trump family might rule forever.
I would consider bringing charges against Chris Murphy for speaking like this. And certainly I would look to John Thune, who leads up the Senate Republicans, and I would talk about censure. What is it that you think I'm missing? Those of you who want to say, oh, Tony, you're just being silly. Oh, no. I heard what he had to say. And that is not a conversation about policy. That's a conversation about wanting to thwart the man. I disagree with Trump on policy in a couple of places, yet I could do it without saying without saying let's harm him. No harm should come to the man. Chris Murphy should be thrown out of the Senate. No harm should come to him, but he shouldn't be allowed in a position of power. What he is engaged in right now is very, very dangerous. Why is nobody discussing this? But when you're Chris Murphy, this is all you have. You can't actually engage in a way that discusses policy because you have no policy to discuss. None. In the State of the Union, Trump is going to have a lot of policy to discuss. Whether we're discussing Ukraine, whether we're discussing the border, whether we are discussing the economy, there's a lot. And Trump is going to have a fair amount of subjects to say, promises made, promises kept. That's going to be the big one. That's going to be the focus, right? Promises made, promises kept. This idea that he lived up to his word. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. The border was a mess. Boom, fixed. In 1 month, didn't need any special legislation. We went from over 8,000 border crossings a day to just over 8,000 border crossings in 30 days. You're welcome, America. You're welcome. You want to talk about saving the American people money and finding waste, fraud, and abuse? Hello, Doge. Oh, sure, Democrats hate that, but Americans love it. The progressive left is so nutty that they're going to bring with them as their guests, Democrats, they're going to bring federal workers with them. And they're going to sit there, look at this federal worker doesn't have a job anymore. We should be protecting them. I want everybody who works in the private sector, specifically people who are raising their family from a mid-management job, I want you to know that you have to show up every day. And you have to explain to your boss what you did every day. But their mid-managers, those federal government mid-managers, don't have to explain themselves, don't have to show up, can spend their time in a government provided for, which means taxpayer paid for, chat room talking about their weird kink sexual pleasures and get paid, and you're not allowed to question them. Just want you to know that's what the Democratic Party is coming with tonight. That's going to be their real strength. We love federal workers. We support federal workers. No. We support federal workers. All us millions of Americans actually support federal workers. We're the ones who have to keep coming up with the cash. We're the ones who have to keep throwing the dollars out there. We're the ones who keep taking our money and taking our money and taking our money and taking our money. At some moment, maybe you could take less of our money and maybe we could take a couple bucks back here and a couple bucks back over there. And, oh, look, here's a 20 and take a couple dollars back there. And yep, that's okay. This is our money, not yours. At some moment, you would think that the Democratic Party would come around to that being a good idea. No, you're going to support the idea of bloat and you're support the idea of waste. You're going to support the idea of fraud. And you're going to say, how dare Donald Trump and the unelected Elon Musk, how dare they do this? I'll tell you how they dare. With 77 million votes, they dare. With 77 million votes, they dare, and they dare pretty dang well. It's actually impressive how much they dare. And yet here you are with arguments that state, you know what we should do? We should immediately, if not sooner, send Elon Musk back where he came from.
And what the hell are you doing here in America? Go back to South Africa. What the hell are you doing here in America? What the hell are you doing here? What the hell are you doing here? What the hell are you doing here in America? Go back to South Africa.
That's Representative Nadia Velasquez of New York, born in Puerto Rico, and telling Elon Musk to go back where he came from. That right there is the kind, loving political left. If you told someone to go back where they came from, you'd be called a xenophobe. And every name under the sun, they would invent terms for you. The move would be on to get you fired. If I, as a radio guy, said that about anybody, do you know the protests that would take place in front of my stations, in front of my house, attacking my kids, demanding that I be kicked off the air? They say it with such reckless abandon. Are you telling me that Trump's policies are so bad and so terrible that instead of engaging by discussing better policy, the best you can do is throw Elon Musk out of the country? And won't someone please harm Donald Trump before democracy is destroyed? The entirety of your argument is the same argument that cost you the election in 2024? The same playbook, the same mathematics, the same call for violence, the same insanity, the same hatred cost you the election, and you're still doing it. When I say these people can't learn, tell me where I'm lying. These people cannot learn. Yet somehow they believe that they are better understanders of us. This was CNN. And you gotta love when CNN has Scott Jennings on and they're desperate to try and stop him from talking. It's amazing.
That's for sure. But they didn't vote for foresters to get fired.
Look,
they didn't vote for the parks to be closed.
Look, you guys,
veterans to be fired.
You guys keep trying to create this fantasy land where Donald Trump is not popular, where Republicans are mad.
Republicans are mad.
Can you
shut down the town halls.
Can you name a single Democrat in Congress who's more popular than Donald Trump right now?
Listen,
Answer, no.
Scott,
the reality is Republicans are so happy with this. They're not upset about it.
No,
the American people are happy about what's going on right now because for the first time in a long time, a president said,
Scott,
I'm actually going to reduce the size of government.
I know you like numbers and you like polls, so let's put the poll up.
Abby Phillip always interrupting. Here are these lefties and outrageously smug. Oh, no, Republicans really don't like what's happening. Oh, no, Republicans aren't happy with what's happening at all. Oh, no, Republicans are terrible. All right, let's take an impromptu poll. All of everybody listening and everybody watching, how many are fine and how many are upset? What do we think the numbers are? I don't like the Ukraine position. I don't like the cutting of the aid or the pausing of the aid. I don't like the tariffs. Said so many times. Getting rid of the fraud, securing the border, position on Israel. I'm as down with that as anything else. Nothing is 100%. Nothing is 100%. Nothing. I have never had anybody in elected office where I was 100% with them. I have argued many times, if you want somebody who you're 100% with, you got to vote for yourself or Jesus. These are your options. But Republicans are miserable. And here's the political left that's going to tell us that they're miserable. That dog won't hunt. It won't hunt. This is what they have to bring in. What is it going to be? This is what they're going to do regarding the State of the Union? Is this how they're going to react to it? I should get into what's going to happen in the State of the Union, and I will. I promise to do that. I'll get to that coming up. Got a little sidetracked. It happens. It totally happens. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Good to be with you. Tony Katz today, just catching up on a couple of things here. Okay. Okay, and all right. Sorry, just had to read up on something right there. Let me see what else I've got to get to. So, what am I missing? What am I not talking about that I should be talking about today? What do we know? What do we think? I did want to get into the Pope because I have commentary from Corinne Jean-Pierre about the state of news and but must we scream? Must we completely lose our minds? I just don't feel that very, very necessary. Writing a comment there. All right. Yes, Sarah, I have seen that, and that is on my list. I will get to that because I still have to discuss Ukraine and now Zelenskyy putting up a post, and the Senate Democrats really want to erase women. You want to talk about not winning an election again? You are on it, political left. Good gosh, I've got that story as well. So, got a bunch of stuff to get to. Bunch of stuff, but I'll start here with the Pope because I had read my sources. Things were bad. So the Pope, alert, oriented, but still sick. And it was last week, a week before. I've got sources for this and sources for that, and they were like, "Yeah, this is very bad. This is get ready for this to be over. Cue the smoke. This is going to be bad." Tony Katz today, and my take from Catholic friends is that they're not fans. I don't think they want anything bad to happen to the man. I don't think they're looking for that. But they are not fans of this Pope and how this Pope has gone about doing things. You have non-invasive mechanical ventilation that has resumed. These breathing issues, which is what put him in a hospital on February 14th, are continuing. And he is 88 years old. They claim it was bronchitis and it got worse and then it got better. These things can resolve. And certainly you would want that for the man. But I don't know if what we're being fed on his condition is totally on the up and up. Totally on the accurates. I hope for his sake he gets healthier. I'm curious about if there is, if it does come to a look for a new pope, what Catholics would be looking for. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. Here's what we've got, guys. Yeah, I did ask the same question last week. Not fans of how liberal he is. But I was just explaining that's what I hear constantly. Constantly. I meant this one here. As a Catholic, I can assure you. I don't know what Matt was talking about here. I do not like communists. I do not like communists. That's just not true. That is rude to say that of me. Guys, we're going to take a quick break, right? Radio is in break right now, so we're going to be in break right now. Come back. I want to get into what some Senate Democrats did regarding women in sports, where people are engaged in true nuttery. I want to discuss the Navy and then what it is Vladimir Zelenskyy has said regarding Ukraine. And then I'll get into later in the show JD Vance's words. And I'm not mad at JD Vance at all. It's just, I think that you if you're going to say we're going to pause aid and then we're going to say we need to get Ukraine back to the table, that seems to be backwards. It seems to be if you're pausing aid, you want it out. Now you want in, and it gets interesting. It gets very, very interesting. I'm glad you guys are here. A lot to get to. Keep it here, and I'll be back in just a few. So hang loose. Every time I come back on, I forget to click. Someone should remind me to click. Just got to click. And by the way, that was some of my best work. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be with you. Glad you're here. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, is it just me, or do you get the impression he suffers from irregularity when he speaks? Like when he speaks publicly, does it make him like gassy? Maybe. Possibly. I don't know for sure. I do not know for sure. Some deals on cigars. What's happening here? Oh, I already have those sets. There's a sale at Penny's. Right. That's absolutely it. All right, we're back to the show. Let's go do some work, guys. The Senate Democrats, in toto, all of them, voted against a piece of legislation last night. That Republican-led bill would prevent boys from participating in girl sports. They were not able to overcome the filibuster, and it did not reach the 60-vote threshold, meaning a cloture, to advance. It was a vote of 51-45. The Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Acts would require Title IX to treat gender as recognized based solely on a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. It is the statement that women are not men and men are not women. Did I say hello, Tony Katz? Tony Katz today. That's the name of the show. That's how you get to be a part of the show. Is you call in 833-GOT-TONY. We've got the live stream going on wherever it is you find me. Just look for Tony Katz, and there I will be. Senate Democrats do not favor the idea of women being women. They favor the idea of women being erased. In Minnesota, they say things like this.
Make no mistake that this is just another version of state-sanctioned bullying and genocide. And I don't say that loudly. Make no mistake that this is just another version of...
You don't say it honestly either. Boys are not girls and girls are not boys. And telling a boy that they're not a girl and they can't take drugs to be a girl is not genocide. You despicable, low human being. To say that is a lie. Well, if we don't allow these children to transition, if we don't give them these drugs, they'll kill themselves. Suicidal tendency comes from within. It is about how one feels and how one can deal with what one is feeling. It doesn't come from, well, if you don't give the child everything they ask for, they're going to kill themselves. That is gross. It's despicable. It's monstrous. And people who say things like this should be pushed back upon with force. I apologize for no part of that statement. It is not genocide to stop children from mutilating themselves. It is the right thing to do. It is what a rational society does. A society that does not protect children is not a society that can survive and thrive. It simply can't. There is no capability of this happening. And if these people, like there in Minnesota, the Minnesota House, want to make this us versus them, I'm okay with that. And who is the us and who is the them? The us is the free and thinking people of the world who recognize that children need to be protected more often than not from themselves, and certainly from the adults that want to do them harm, and the adults who want to do them harm. You have to let them do this. Otherwise, it's a genocide. Oh, shut up. You want to talk about genocide? Let's now turn to the Armenians. They've got some things to say. Not you or anybody else playing in the trans world that doesn't like the fact that I don't use your pronouns. It's not genocide. You absolute ridiculous frauds. It's obscene that you say such a thing. It is obscene that the Democratic Party can't see its way clear to simply saying boys are not girls and girls are not boys. And if you think you're going to win midterms this way, okay, you keep doing you. You knuckleheads, you keep doing this and then enjoy losing. My problem is there are states where you have control and you are dangerous, like Minnesota. It's dangerous. It's dangerous for parental rights, which are very real. It's dangerous for children who are being abused, and it's very real. And it's a safe haven for these twisted people who can't accept the most basic concept. And you would think that the basic concept is boys are not girls and girls are not boys. That's actually not the basic concept. The basic concept is children must be protected. And you who say these things, yes, in a very personal way, are the abusers they must be protected from. Andy Cohen over there at Bravo decided to have a fight with Meghan McCain on social media, where talking about Peyton McNabb. Peyton McNabb is going to be at the joint address to Congress. Tonight, the State of the Union, not a State of the Union, it's a joint address to Congress. It's different, right? Is it a distinction without a difference? No, because the State of the Union is constitutionally prescribed. This is a joint address. That's what this is. But this 19-year-old, Peyton McNabb, she was left with a traumatic brain injury because this man who claims to be a woman was playing volleyball and spiked the volleyball directly into her head. That's what happened. And she will be Trump's guest. And Meghan McCain was like, I've met this girl, Peyton. And Democrats defending young women suffering from traumatic brain injuries as a result of trans athletes is why they will continue losing every election. Enter Andy Cohen from Bravo. Quote, surprised you're buying into the vilification of the trans community given the real problems happening in this country. Your previous allyship of the LGBTQ community and the fact that this non-issue affects about 4 people in this country. God, Andy, I didn't know you were a scumbag. I didn't know you were a liar. I just thought you figured out a great gig with Bravo and created this world for yourself and watch what happens. I just watched what happened. Andy Cohen beclowned himself on social media by A, lying, B, being dismissive of a real issue, and most importantly, calling anybody who disagrees with him a transphobe. I don't know what anybody means by allyship. I am pretty sure what they mean is you agree with us 100% of the time or we destroy you. If that's the case, I am fine not to have any allyship. I'm fine with saying that the L, the G, and the B should engage a very public divorce of the T. The T is the issue. The T is the problem because the T is where you get a political movement out of the LGBTQ. By the way, you notice how they took your letter and made it into a political movement? They have. They don't care about you. You have to be part of the political movement the way they say you have to be part of the political movement, or they will quite literally beat you out of the gang. And you know that's true. This is a political movement. The L, the G, and the B should divorce the T. The T says it's okay to abuse children, and anybody who questions it clearly wants them to commit suicide, and anybody else who questions it should be met with force. And look at how violent they act, and look at what we've seen with school shootings. I'm sorry, we can't notice? I'm going to notice. I'm going to notice every part of it, that we have a serious problem of social contagion in America regarding these transgender issues. There simply aren't that many quote-unquote transgender kids. It's not real. It is social contagion. It is a fraud. And some parents are helping to perpetrate this fraud against their own kids. And some parents refuse to fight the adults in schools and other places who are perpetrating this fraud against kids. And that is a serious issue, a massive issue. This is, Andy Cohen, the real problem affecting this country. Why? What do you think it is? Ukraine? Because with all due respect, this goes on top of the list. You want to talk about the children being killed in Ukraine? It's happening, and it's awful. You want to talk about the children being abused right here in the United States? It's happening, and it's awful. And I can do something about it. I don't know if I can stop Vladimir Putin. Although I guess with enough firepower, you can stop anybody. You willing to do that? But I got to stop the abuse right here. I got to stop the people who refuse to admit that men are not women and women are not men. I have to stop them from having any power whatsoever, from being in places where they can mess with kids' heads. It affects about 4 people in this country. Why do those 4 people matter so little to you, Andy? Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Have you not been paying attention to your manual on how to properly protest? My gosh, Andy, what kind of ally are you? And most importantly, this isn't vilification of the trans community. That's mythology. That's ridiculous, silly talk to try and prevent people from speaking out. I'm going to shame you because you're vilifying. Men should not be playing in women's sports. And if you think so, you're wrong. And if you want to fight about it, Andy Cohen, okay. Can I get a sip of coffee first? Or just a little midday coffee. It's good for you. Oh, that's fresh. That's fresh. Okay, now I'm ready. Get whatever it is you need. Get whatever it is you need. The vilification of the trans community. No one's being vilified. Men don't belong in women's sports. Men are not women and women are not men. It's not my fault you're not smart enough to follow on that one. We should fight. We should fight politically. We should not allow any high school to engage in this type of competition, no matter what. Parents should stand up and say absolutely not, and explain to their kids why this competition cannot take place. Absolutely. They should be all over it. They should stand up and say no. And they should look at the parents and the adults who want to push this stuff and call them abusers. If you ask me about Andy Cohen of Bravo, he seems to be pushing a heck of a lot of abuse here. Maybe he's not aware of it. But if you think children can mutilate themselves, that's abusive. That puts you in the camp of abuser. You want to talk about vilifying the trans community? I think you want to mutilate kids. Now, why is it when you say it, it's okay, and when I say it, it's a problem? My answer is honest. Your answer is fraudulent. This is like the second time in the past 2 weeks I find myself agreeing with Meghan McCain, and I don't quite know what's going on with that. But I will gladly state, state that this fight is not about 4 people in this country. This fight is about where we sit as a society. It is a fight worth having. It is a fight worth undertaking. It is a fight that absolutely must be won. So let's go win. I'm Tony Katz. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to see you. Good to be with you. I was sent some cigar deals, and I'm like, they're not bad. They're just not, maybe not. Maybe not the case. Okay. So Zelenskyy, he has made a statement, put it out on the socials. Did Zelenskyy? I've got that. I think Sarah, you sent it to me, right? There it is. I don't know what this changes. I have to admit, I'm not sure why I think this would change anything. I also wanted to get into this conversation about the U.S. Navy. Oh, and I'm not kidding. The supporting the mutilation of children is not popular in the U.S., and I think Democrats are going to get very hurt in midterm elections because of this. And I could have sworn I had some audio from Speaker Johnson on this. I don't know where I put it. Let me see if I can capture it right now. Music is coming up. Sounds good. There we go. So coming back to the show. Glad you guys are here. Let's get to it. Vladimir Zelenskyy making a statement. Of course, we know about the dust-up in the White House, and I still find myself looking at people blaming Trump, saying, I have the capacity to be critical. There are things that I disagree with. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're yelling at the man for. No, I'm not saying why is Trump yelling at Zelenskyy. I don't know why anybody's yelling at Trump. Zelenskyy was definitely rude. Zelenskyy was definitely obstinate. It was happening in the Oval, which is the spot of power in America. Trump's the president. What did you think he was going to do? It's all so strange. Now, should the meeting have ever gone down like this? Nah, not at all. And if you want to argue that Trump is guilty for allowing a meeting to be set up like this and no translator for Zelenskyy, you can. But Zelenskyy is impossible to deal with. This seems obvious. Even Joe Biden has had to yell at him in the past for not being more grateful or not being easier to work with. Why are you so difficult? We're trying to help you. Zelenskyy put out the following. I would like to reiterate Ukraine's commitment to peace. None of us wants an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than Ukrainians. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. He continues, we are ready to work fast to end the war. And the first stages could be the release of prisoners and truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and truce in the sea immediately, if Russia will do the same. Then we want to move very fast through all next stages and to work with the U.S. to agree a strong final deal. These are his words, so it might not be perfect English. He continues, does Vladimir Zelenskyy in this post on X. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. And we remember the moment when things changed, when President Trump provided Ukraine with javelins, the missiles. We are grateful for this. This was first term. Our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regrettable that it happened this way. It is time to make things right, writes Vladimir Zelenskyy, president of Ukraine. We would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time and in any convenient format. We see this agreement as a step toward greater security and solid security guarantees, and I truly hope it will work effectively. Now, he threw in the security guarantees, which, of course, was his sticking point. Why would I believe in Russian diplomacy? They've never been able to be trusted with diplomacy. Why should I trust them now? Which was a legitimate question. But it also failed to notice that if you're going to be doing a mineral rights deal, of course, the United States is going to protect its mineral rights and its investments, and you're going to see that protection. I don't know what changed over the past couple of days for Vladimir Zelenskyy that now he thinks that Russia will stick to its word. This is all not necessary. All of this should have been well understood by Zelenskyy then. Get the deal, get more security. Get the deal, ask for more. Get the deal. This is backwards. Now, there's a question as to whether or not he was advised improperly. And yes, as we're reading, Zelenskyy met with people like Senator Chris Murphy and other Democrats. They did seemingly advise Zelenskyy to go hard at this deal. There is a Logan Act conversation. I'll get into that another day. But goodness gracious, what an absolutely terrible bit of advice to put Zelenskyy in this position now. What do I think happens with this? I think Trump makes mention of it in the State of the Union. The address to the joint session. And if I'm him, I say in it, President Zelenskyy, what are you doing tomorrow? And go sign the deal. It doesn't cost Trump anything to be magnanimous at that moment. He won. He won. It doesn't take anything for Trump to do that. He could say, I want to see the seriousness in his eyes. He could do all those kinds of things and leave this pause of aid funding for a couple days. I don't think he should. I think the answer is, President Zelenskyy, when do you want to get together? We believe that peace can happen too. Glad you're on board. Here's my pen. We'll see if he does it. This is Tony Katz today. Thank you, producer Landon, that we are all clear. All right, let me see. Is that Dr. Matt Will? There he is. Can I bring you onto the stage? Can I bring you onto the stage? Look at that. Look at him. What's up, kid?
Just sitting here waiting to talk about the next war.
You know, we're live streaming right now. So
yeah, I realize that.
People can see you and they can, fawn all over themselves. Oh my gosh, Dr. Matt Will, he's the best.
Yeah, I'm not as dumb as I look, Tony. I just want you to know that.
That's not true. You look very dumb. There it is.
You just got lots of wars out there in the world right now, right? Economic war.
Did you hear what's his name? Justin Trudeau?
Yes.
Good gosh. I led with that. I wasn't gonna lead with that, but that's what started my day, because Donald, even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. I don't know how that's gonna solve anything.
He's taking his cues from Zelenskyy, apparently.
Which means he's taking his cues from Chris Murphy, is what's going on. Hold on there. I'll be with you in a second.
Sure.
Dr. Matt Will, you don't need to be a part of this. Uh-oh. I'm a traitor. All right. Jordan, clearly you're having yourself a day. Can you now explain what Russian propaganda I have been spewing when I don't think we should pause aid to Ukraine? I think we should sell them guns and bullets. And I have referred to Russia from the beginning as the invading force. You tell me what it is that I'm spewing. This is a great example, guys. People don't listen. They react. Tribalism is pure, raw, unadulterated evil, and it makes people horrifically stupid. Go on, Jordan. No, I don't think Jordan's in daycare, libertarian dragon. That's just rude. Good. I just, what's your argument? What is your argument? What you're saying has nothing to do with Russia or Ukraine. What you're saying is you hate Trump. Why doesn't everybody hate Trump? The reason I don't hate Trump is that it takes too much of my time. And if I hated everybody who I had some level of disagreement with, how could I function in my day? If I hated everybody I disagreed with, I would be you, and I don't want to be you. Being you does not seem enjoyable in the slightest. I'm going to go this route. I disagree and I discuss it. And then I go smoke a cigar and I have some bourbon. That's my plan. That's my methodology. My method is better than your method. I don't see how that isn't in every way true. All right, we're going to bring in the good Dr. Will, and we're going to talk about some economics.
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense.
Sorry, I can't make something make sense when you don't have the full story. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. Certainly, your statement about Trump and Russia should be left to the side, even if you don't like how Trump deals with Ukraine. Tony Katz today, good to be with you. But as for trade war, well, yeah, that's that clearly is happening right now. Clearly. Dr. Matt Will joins us, economist at the University of Indianapolis, and I appreciate you taking the time. It's a 25% tariff on everything coming out of Canada. It's a 25% tariff, Dr. Will.
Except energy.
Energy is 10%. You're right, out of Canada. Energy is 10%. It's 25% everything coming out of Mexico. So this is what we're dealing with. This is not the reciprocal tariffs that you are actually a fan of, sir. This is an above and beyond because of fentanyl or other issues. What are the actual tariff details as you know them from the White House?
Well, from the White House, it's very easy to figure out. The retaliation, though, is a little bit more complex, and we can cover both of them. But the White House issued a statement this morning. They said using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, that's a mouthful, and Trump used it 11 times in his first term to specifically target a specific task. And, I've been complaining that he hasn't told us what he wants out of these tariffs. It says it very clear. I mean, I can read it. It says, to deal with the posed threat of illegal aliens and drugs, including deadly fentanyl. It constitutes a national emergency. So he's saying, I want you to stop illegal aliens. I want you to stop fentanyl. And we're going to do it by putting a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. And also he put a 10% additional tax on China. So the tariff for China is now a total of 20%. And what he's saying is very clear. I'm tired of talk. I want actions. He gave them 30 days to take action. They paid some lip service to the action. So now he's initiating a trade war. Now, Tony, it's important we understand the trade war from an economic and finance perspective is different than a tactic for political and social issues, which is what he is doing here. But we can talk about the economic impact. But he's going after fentanyl and immigration. There's no question about what he wants.
I am, and I've never thought that there is. It's a question of how one gets there. Talking to Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis. But first things first, the very term trade war, that's not problematic, right? That is what we're now seeing.
Oh, it's a war because we now have the retaliation. China has announced specifics. Canada has announced specifics. Mexico said they will announce their specifics Sunday. But Trudeau was totally off base. This is not about Russia. This is not about Ukraine. This is not about Putin. This is about fentanyl and immigration. And Canada promised 30 days ago they would do something, and they haven't. So the president has initiated. And the war is, Canada's got a whole list of things. And it's interesting, the dichotomy between Trudeau, the premier of Ontario, and the premier of Alberta. They have very different takes on this whole situation. It's very interesting.
Let's start with the basics. What Trudeau was saying is America started a trade war with us and appeasing Russia. What in the world's going on here? Right? He did it as a dig to Donald Trump, which isn't going to help anything. But all politics are local. Maybe it makes him look tough to Canadians. So you see this 25% tariff on Canada, 10% on Canadian energy, 25% on Mexico, another 10% on China, and you'll see more there. China has the ability to respond. But when you're Canada and Mexico, and specifically Canada in this case, what are the specifics of the retaliation?
Well, their retaliation is it's a pea shooter. They didn't really bring out the big guns because they're doing 25% tariff on 21 billion of imports. That's a microscopic part. And if you don't play games, or if you don't play with us, Trump, it's going to be on another 86 billion of imports 3 weeks from now. So they're pretty insignificant tariffs. So they're not massive. But Ontario, this is the guy who's tough. Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, he wants to slap on a 25% tax on all energy exports to Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. And he says if Trump retaliates, he will shut off all electricity to those 3 states on April 2nd. I don't know if he has the power to do that, but he's threatening that. While Alberta, this is a trade war. It's chaos. In Alberta, the premier there, Danielle Smith, she's saying, no retaliation from us because 87% of the stuff that's exported from her province goes to the USA. She doesn't want a war. She is in a completely opposite position than Premier Doug Ford.
When you take a look at these numbers and how they break down, it is kind of amazing how Canada's existence, their economic existence, is quite clearly reliant upon the United States and our purchase power.
Yes.
That is not a threatening statement. That's just a factual statement based on the numbers, correct?
We are 34% of their GDP. 77% of their exports go to the United States. We represent a third of their entire GDP. So that's when I say, Trudeau's just playing for the cameras. He's yakking it up about, Putin and those things, but he's shooting with a pea shooter. China, on the other hand, they were much more strategic. They know how to play this game better than Canada. And their retaliation was much more precise and is going to be a lot more painful. And we saw the pain of the China retaliation in today's stock market.
So the market, who knows where it's going to close. Midday, the stock market, talking to Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis, down 500. Everybody's reacting to this stuff. But you mentioned China's reaction versus that of Canada and Mexico. Mexico, we won't hear for a couple of days. China being more strategic. Well, China sells more to the world stage, so an impact of U.S. tariffs has less of an effect on the overall Chinese economy. But the overall Chinese economy has been affected now for well over a year. Are they in recession, nay, depression? Is the workforce back up and running in a post-COVID world? Are people manufacturing the way they used to? So do these tariffs and these responses also have a more deleterious effect to the economic issues they've already been engaging?
I would say that the economic impact on China is insignificant. We're only 16% of their exports, about 2.5% of their GDP. They've already been in a recession, as you've mentioned, but their response is what's caused our market to go down, Tony. This is what's very important to understand. China did 10 to 15% on U.S. agricultural imports. Okay, so that's going to hurt the U.S. farmer, but they had specifics saying you cannot sell certain technology to the U.S. So a company called Stydio, which is a major drone manufacturer, they have banned, effective today, selling certain technology to the U.S. And that's what caused NASDAQ to go down 10% because it's tech heavy. Forget about what you mentioned about, oh, the Dow is down 500. The NASDAQ is down 10% because of this targeted retaliation from China. This is big news.
I would argue, I think was down 10%. I'm not sure if it's still the case. Now, I listen to that and I say, well, wait, why are we buying tech from China anyway? Who in the world could trust tech from China? We shouldn't allow Huawei to operate in the country. We shouldn't allow ZTE to operate in the country. They should have no control over the 5G protocols that we have. So wait, maybe I'm in favor of this, and thank you, China. But the larger scale issue here is that China can fight this trade war. Canada cannot. So these tariffs that you're seeing put on, the tough guy talk about power. How long, Dr. Will, can Canada endure before they simply can't?
Oh, I don't know. A month, maybe. I mean, we're a third of their GDP. So if you slap, 25% tariff on third of their economy, you're talking about a 6-7% drop in GDP. They're going to go into depression instantly. That's that's not realistic. I mean, come on, people. I can't imagine that they will succeed in this. And you can tell because, again, he was all talk and very little action. Their tariff is a token tariff at most, other than Ontario electricity. That hurts.
Talking to Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis. We talked about some stock market impact, but give me an idea of other impact. How does this affect psyche when thinking about investments going forward?
Well, it affects a lot of things. I mean, let's pick on Honda, for example. Honda has said that they're going to move their Civic production to Indiana from Mexico. Now, if we're thinking, wow, that's great, we're going to have more jobs in Indiana, and that is good. But they're doing that to avoid a 25% tariff, and it's going to cost more to buy your Honda Civic. It's more expensive to make the Honda in Indiana than it is to make it in Mexico. It's going to be a drag on our GDP. You're going to shift your expenses. So you're going to pay more money for imports, and that means you're going to have less money to buy those discretionary things that you buy in the U.S. So it's going to cause inflation, but not what we call absolute inflation. Your overall inflation won't go up, but certain items will be much more expensive. By the way, Tony, I need to correct myself. NASDAQ is down 10% from its peak, not 10% today. So I'm sorry I misspoke.
Okay, just making sure we're always following the numbers, honestly. The effect on markets. I've had many people say to me, hey, the tariffs don't affect me. I buy American anyway. And I keep trying to explain that, of course, the tariff affects you. All tariffs are taxes. And if some part of the good is made from something overseas, the good is therefore more expensive. But even if the good isn't impacted by anything overseas, it makes everything more expensive, no?
Yes. Because, well, okay. Again, let me clarify. Overall inflation will not go up, but certain things will go up because you're going to spend more money on it and you just won't have other things to buy. I know it sounds a little complicated, but if you're spending more money buying something from Mexico, you have less discretionary income. So there's going to be less discretionary items purchased. You're not going to be able to buy that extra goodie that you want or go on that extra trip that you want because you're spending your money on something that you didn't plan to. And that's the real impact here, is it lowers the quality of life. That's the end result of a trade war. It lowers the quality of life for everyone.
So now let's ask the only question that counts. How much pain can Donald Trump endure? And what is he going to have to start hearing from those in MAGAville and other places for him to say, okay, we're done with the tariffs?
Wow. I think what's this $64,000 question? I mean, what is he going to endure? With China, it's going to be a tougher fight because, we're, 1.9% of our economy is them. 2.5% of their economy is us. So that's a much more even fight. And I think they can tolerate more pain. But Tony, doesn't he just want the fentanyl to stop? Doesn't he just want the illegal immigration to stop? If that's truly what he wants, then why can't they just acquiesce and cooperate and say, okay, no more fentanyl and illegal immigration? How hard is that?
There's a lot of money in it, I guess. But your point is taken. If you want to reduce it down to that, it's an interesting way to say it. Why don't you guys just stop these things from happening? Lessen these things from happening, and then everything could be better. But the market is geared up for a long, protracted bit of pain here.
Yeah, I mean, I think my belief is that the market was dismissing that Trump was really going to do this. They thought, he's just talking. Look, he extended it 30 days. He'll extend it another 30 days. Mexico and Canada, they weren't serious about fixing the two problems. Well, guess what? He did it this morning. They retaliated, and the market says, oh, crap, this is real. And that's what the market is thinking, and they know it's true now.
Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. More is coming up. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Dr. Will, stay right there. Still streaming with everybody here. Crystal ball this. I wasn't kidding. Like there is a pressure that will come, and it may not come from individual investors, but it'll come from a phone call from Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan or someone like that saying, you gotta stop this madness. You gotta stop this silliness. Who's making money in the trade war?
Who's making money in the trade war?
Someone is always making a couple of bucks. Who's making money in this? Where is the money to be made in this?
Well, in the trade war, nobody's making money because that's the whole point of a war. In a war, there is no winner and loser, just who suffers less, who dies less. And the victor is not any better off than the loser. They're better off, but they still suffer. The people that are making money without the trade war, okay, that's who Trump is targeting. Those are the drug dealers in Mexico, the fentanyl labs in Canada.
I'm asking a different question. I am saying, here I am, an investor, and I got a couple of bucks, right? Look at sweet, sweet cash I got to invest. Is there something I'm looking at during this that's like, nope, that's a good spot to be at this moment?
Currency. Probably the US dollar will perform better than other currencies. Well, it has already, and it will continue. In a trade war, you look for relative gains, not absolute gains. So that means, where do you want to be? You want to be in a relative market, being the dollar. So the dollar will perform better than other currencies. So you want to be in the dollar. It's really put your money in dollar foreign exchange currency trades.
You heard it from the man. I take no responsibility for his advice whatsoever. That's not how this works. Dr. Matt Will, I appreciate you, man. Go live your life. Get out of here. You crazy kid. You right there. By the way, I'm going to have to call him back later and be like, I have no idea. I have no idea what that means. I'm not qualified to make that call. If that's an interesting argument. I think the point he brought up was kind of interesting. Hey, we just want the fentanyl to end. Why don't you end the fentanyl? Right? We just want the fentanyl to end. Why don't you end the fentanyl? It's not a bad argument. Not a bad argument at all in any way. Now I'm looking for, oh, there it is. There's a really interesting article from Real Clear Defense, part of the Real Clear Politics world. To be a peacemaker and peacekeeper, Trump must build up the Navy. This is a recording. Dear Lord, how many more ways are we going to see this? Rebuilding the Navy includes bringing people in to naval academies, bring people in to the Navy, into public service like this. It means actually building ships at a rate that makes people go, my gosh, they're building a lot of ships. It's about getting them out to sea. It's about being able to engage in more timely and cost-effective repairs. One does not survive without a strong Navy. You cannot be a superpower without a strong Navy. You can't. It's just not possible. It's just not doable. And then this is somebody like Corinne Jean-Pierre on The View.
Here's the thing. The Associated Press, if you look at the Associated Press, they are the oldest wire in the press briefing room. And you think about journalists, you think about the reason they're in the press briefing room, you think about the reason they're in the pool. It's called the protective pool. There are 13 members of the pool. I'll try not to get too wonky here. And their job is to provide unbiased information to the American people, because the American people deserve that. And
you think that's what we've been getting? You think that's what we've been getting? I don't, and neither do you. But that she's out there lecturing, considering all the unwillingness to share honestly about the condition of Donald Trump, right? This unbiased information we're supposed to be getting, and then she forgets what it is she did. She forget, like somehow we're supposed to forget what it is she did in the lying. Lied repeatedly about the condition of Joe Biden. Lied repeatedly with her big binder, not answering questions.
And when the White House press team decides to step in and override the White House Correspondents Association, who they have the job of doing that, then what we're looking at is state TV. Yep. What we're looking at is what Russia is doing. What we're looking at is what North Korea is doing. And we are doing that. They are attacking the fiber of the freedom of the press. They are destroying.
That's Corinne Jean-Pierre letting you know that since the White House will pick who does the covering in certain spots and not the White House Correspondents Association, it's now state TV like North Korea, as opposed to acknowledging that the President of the United States can't possibly discharge his duties, covering it up, lying to America by claiming that everything we see is a cheap fake and a stunt and a fraud to make the president, meaning former President Biden, look bad, which is what Corinne Jean-Pierre did. And now she says of Trump, it's North Korea. That the kids, the word you're looking for is projection. This is what they did. This is what they accuse you of doing. Almost got a little Heisman right there. But of course, The View brings her back. The rehabilitation starts now. And besides, someone needs to replace Joy Behar on MSNBC. I meant Joy Reid. Either way. I always get Joy Reid and Joy Behar. I don't know. They sound so much alike. Just with the blah, 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 I'm wrong, blah, blah, I'm wrong, Trump bad, blah, blah, blah. Guys, I appreciate you being with me. I appreciate you being part of the show. I got to run. Right now, I got to run. I got to do it. At WIBC.com, you can listen to more of the show. I've got more to get to there. Right now, though, I got to go. I appreciate you guys quite a bit. Glad you're a part of what we're doing. And more streaming to come. Much more streaming to come. I'll catch you guys later. Really appreciate it. Take care.